I'm Kaylee from LA. Please like and subscribe. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always loved to sing. My grandma was a professional singer. She sang around the world with the most prestigious orchestras and operas. I miss her and her voice so much. When I got to 10th grade, I became the singer of the family. I went to the most prestigious performing arts school on the West Coast. My favorite class was music, of course, and my favorite club so far was show choir. We had been the best in the state for 14 years, with the trophies to prove it. My best friend, Addison, is also in show choir with me. He and I met in kindergarten and have been inseparable ever since. He's the funniest guy I've ever known. He's also gotten pretty cute over the years too. Or at least that's what all the girls in school think. But I just don't see him that way. Hard to see someone that way when they used to sneak over from next door and put frogs in your bed. Yuck! One day, our show choir teacher, Ms. Conrad, had big news for us.
We've been asked to compete at this year's National Show Choir competition.
All right.
Yeah!
But to ensure we get top scores, the soloists will have to be chosen very carefully.
Ms. Conrad told us that we were going to have to audition for the big solo right in front of each other in 1 week. My nemesis, Heidi, started bragging in front of the whole group.
We all know who's gonna get it! Me, of course. Everyone knows I have the stage presence of a star.
I don't know. I think Kaylee might give you a run for your money. She's got star power and the voice to match.
The others' eyes widened. Were they about to fight? Just then, the bell rang. As everyone left the class, I swatted Addison on the arm. Don't start fights with Heidi! She's my biggest competition!
That's exactly why you have to stand up for yourself in front of her.
I just don't want anyone to think I think I'm better than her.
Well then, I guess that's why I'm here. To remind them for you.
Oh, what would I do without you?
Good thing we'll never have to find out.
I was so nervous, even though I'd sung in front of our choir before. But the pressure was on the whole week leading up to auditions. I practiced in the shower, in the bathroom, between classes. I really wanted to beat out Heidi for the big solo at the end of the show. Finally, audition day arrived. I woke up, put on my cutest outfit, curled my hair, and took extra time with my makeup. After all, if I'm gonna be a big star one day, I might as well start dressing like it now. When I stepped out of my house to walk to school with Addison, his cheeks turned super red. What's wrong?
Nothing, you just look different is all. Your hair is.
Oh no! Does it look bad? Maybe I should have worn it up. I'll just go chance.
No, leave it. You look good. Great.
When I arrived in class, Heidi was sitting in the front row, looking totally perfect. What was I thinking? With her shiny hair, big eyes, and as much as I hated to admit it, her beautiful voice. Why would anyone ever look twice at me? But I just tried to remember what my grandma would always say.
It's not about who sings the loudest or looks the prettiest. As long as your song comes from your heart, people can't help but listen.
So I took a deep breath and sat down next to Heidi, right in the front row. She gave me a once-over and rolled her eyes. Who cared what she thought? I knew I looked great. Ms. Conrad sat down at the piano and called Heidi up first. After she finished singing, I applauded politely along with everyone else. Then it was my turn. I stood confidently and turned to face everyone. Addison gave me a thumbs up from the back row. Such a good friend! Ms. Conrad played the opening notes for my song when suddenly the door to the classroom burst open behind me. I turned to look, and standing in the doorway was the most handsome boy I'd ever seen. Tall, with long brown hair that felt perfectly into his eyes. He looked just like a fairy tale prince. My jaw dropped. He handed a note to Ms. Conrad.
Class, this is our newest addition, Patrick.
He waved to everyone, then put his hand on my shoulder, looked deep into my eyes, and said,
I'm so sorry I interrupted your audition. Knock 'em dead.
Then he took my seat right in the front row. I gulped. Oh, now I was nervous again. I shook off my nerves, took a deep breath, and nodded to Ms. Conrad as she played. I could feel the music filling me up all the way to the top. I opened my mouth to sing and let my song come from my heart. When I finished, the whole class burst into applause. I felt like I was walking on air. Patrick got up to sing something last minute. He was so good. The next day, Ms. Conrad put up the list and I had gotten the solo. And she'd even added a duet in the middle of the show for Patrick to sing with me.
Looks like it's you and me, Kaylee. I'm so honored to be singing with someone as talented as you.
I felt my cheeks turn red, and he grinned.
You're so cute when you blush like that. Be careful, or I might just fall in love.
He walked away with a wink at me. I couldn't believe he'd just said that. And neither could Heidi, who'd been listening around the corner.
Don't get too comfy with that solo. Once Miss Conrad figures out that you'll cave at the first sign of pressure, I'll be ready to step in.
Eavesdrop much? Jealousy isn't your color, Heidi. The next day, we started rehearsing for nationals. Everyone was working so hard, and Patrick and I sounded great together. But when it came to our dance, it was like I'd suddenly grown a second left foot.
No, Kaylee, no. Once more from the top.
Miss Conrad, I'm happy to come up front and show Kaylee how it's done.
Not necessary, but thank you, Heidi.
Just here for the team.
After I knocked Patrick over by mistake for the third time, Ms. Conrad called it a day.
Kaylee, please go home and practice, practice, practice.
Ugh! I could have wiped that smug look off of Heidi's face. Everyone went to start packing up their bags, and I started to head backstage to get my bag when Patrick came up to me.
Hey, gorgeous. Want to stay and practice a little with me? Then it'll be perfect by tomorrow.
Oh, I wouldn't want to impose. Your toes must be all bruised.
That's okay. I really don't mind. And I wouldn't mind spending a little quality time with my co-star.
Well, if you insist. Just then, Addison came up to us.
Hey, Kaylee, ready to go?
That's okay. I should really practice a little longer.
I can practice with you. I could use a few run-throughs myself.
Oh, well, Patrick already offered to stay behind and practice with me here.
He did he? How are you gonna get home?
I can drive her.
Oh, do you live in our neighborhood?
No, but
I mean, if it's not really convenient for you.
I'm not spending time with Kaylee because it's convenient.
Neither am I.
I'm spending time with her because she's cool.
My face turned bright red. Did he really mean that? Addison, I'm gonna stay here too. Just for a bit to practice. I'll see you later, okay?
Fine. If you insist, I'll see you when you get home.
He turned on his heel and walked out. Patrick turned to me with a grin on his face and held out his hand.
Shall we?
We practiced more, and I was finally getting good. Patrick swung me out for our final spin, then pulled me in close and dipped me. That's when I noticed his face was just so close. His ice blue eyes staring deep into mine. Was he gonna kiss me? Just then, all the lights in the theater went out. Patrick dropped me in shock and I shrieked. All of a sudden, the lights came back on, and Ms. Conrad stepped back on stage.
Oh, hey, kids. I am so sorry I didn't realize you were still here.
Ugh, I couldn't believe she'd interrupted our moment. Still, we waved goodbye to her and headed out. A little while later, when Patrick dropped me off, he got out of his car to open my door. Such a gentleman!
It was nice hanging out tonight. I'll see you tomorrow, superstar.
Then he wrapped his arms around me and gave me a big hug. Is this what heaven smelled like? Then I headed up the front walk to my door.
So, do you like him or something?
I whipped around and saw Addison waiting on our front porch swing. I don't know, maybe. He's so cute and really talented.
Okay, cool. I guess, do you still want to practice?
That's okay. I think I got it now.
Okay then. Well then, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Here, I got you a milkshake.
Hey, thanks. He started crossing the yard towards his house. Is it?
Cookies and cream. Your favorite.
Thanks, I'll see you tomorrow.
You know it.
Then it was finally time for nationals. As we arrived at the concert hall, I was overwhelmed by all the other groups here and overheard one girl say to another,
She was a little flat at the end.
I couldn't believe it. What if I lost us the whole competition? All night and throughout all our warm-ups the next day. It was all I could think about. If I messed up again, I'd be letting everyone down, including myself. And there were several famous music industry people judging the competition. What if I ended my career as a singer before it even started? And then, it was almost time to go up. I tried to calm down, but I was shaking like a leaf.
Miss Conrad, Kaylee doesn't look so good.
Ms. Conrad came over. She looked pretty nervous herself.
Kaylee, you look terrible. Are you going to be able to perform?
Of course
Because if you're sick, I can always put Heidi on.
I'm ready to go, Miss Conrad.
Just then, I spotted Patrick warming up down the hall. I just need a minute. I raced down the hall towards him. He was stretching, shaking out his hands, jumping up and down. Patrick! His expression was so strange. Was he nervous too? I'm so nervous. Do you think we could practice?
Kaylee, I'm kinda busy.
What if we?
I really just need some space here. Kaylee,
Yesterday you said we were a team. That doesn't feel like a team to me.
I can't do this right now. Could you leave me alone?
Fighting back tears, I ran down the hall and found a corner backstage. I couldn't let anyone see me so upset, especially not Ms. Conrad or Heidi. What was I gonna do? Suddenly, Addison stepped out of the shadows. He looked so handsome in his costume.
Kaylee, are you okay?
I threw my arms around him. He caught me and squeezed tight. I'm so nervous. I overheard one of the other teams say I sounded bad. Ms. Conrad is ready to replace me with Heidi. Patrick isn't any help, and there's amazing industry people out there. And ugh!
You sounded amazing in rehearsal. Those other teams were just jealous. Forget about Patrick and Heidi. Remember why you love to sing? What was it your grandma always said?
Sing from your heart.
Exactly. Just do that.
I took a few deep breaths, and Addison was right. Will you just run the last part of the number with me?
Of course.
And there, in our little corner of the theater, we stepped, we twirled, we kicked in time together. Addison took my hand, spun me around, and dipped me low. I felt his arm slip. He was dropping me, but right before I was sure I'd hit the ground, he caught me with a twinkle in his eye. I swatted his arm. You tricked me.
I'd never drop you. And even if I did, I'll always be here to catch you.
Thank you, Addison. Then he smiled at me so genuinely, and my heart fell into my stomach. What was that?
Places, please. Students' places. Kaylee, are you ready?
Yes, Ms. Conrad. As we all rushed to take our spots to start our number, Addison shot me a wink.
Knock 'em dead, superstar.
You too! As soon as the lights came up on stage, I felt a little thrill of excitement. We danced, we sang, we twirled. Everyone had brought their A game. When it came time for my duet with Patrick, we totally nailed it. But any spark that had been there was gone. As the opening chords of my solo began, the lights shined down on me, and I opened my mouth, and the music poured from my heart. I knew my grandma was right there with me. I hit my final note and held it out forever as everyone finished their steps behind me. As we struck our final pose, the crowd erupted into applause. A standing ovation! I beamed. We totally nailed it. That night, after all the points had been tallied, all the teams gathered on stage behind the judges. Addison reached for my hand and I squeezed back. Thanks for the pep talk. I could have never done it without you.
Of course you could have. I'm just here to remind you.
You're always there for me. He leaned in close, and I felt a flutter in my stomach as he whispered in my ear.
And I always will be, if you let me.
I turned to look directly in his eyes.
Kaylee, I have to tell you.
Just then, the announcer started announcing the winners. Second place, runner-up. Our whole team clasped hands and took a deep breath together.
And the grand prize for this year's National Show Choir competition goes to...
As they said our name, the crowd roared. It was so loud I could hardly think. Confetti rained down on us as Ms. Conrad stepped forward to accept our trophy. I threw my arms around Addison, and he picked me up, swinging me in a circle. We did it! We did it! As we packed up our things in the dressing room and said goodbye to the new friends we'd made at the competition, one of the judges knocked on our dressing room door. He was an exec for a record label back in LA.
I was so impressed with you. Your vocals were so clear and you've got some real presence up there. Give me a call if you think you'd be interested in recording a single.
He handed me his card, and I shook his hand, totally awestruck. Maybe dreams really do come true. I felt so relieved. Not only had I not let everyone down, but I'd made myself proud. On the beach, Addison sat down next to me, running a hand through his hair. When he saw me watching, he grinned, and the butterflies were back.
I'm totally beat, aren't you?
Definitely. I got you something.
Oh yeah?
I pulled out a bag of gummy worms and your favorite.
You're the best, Kay.
He ripped open the bag and dug in. Hey, Addison, what was it you were gonna tell me earlier?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, I have something I want to tell you.
Yeah?
I like you.
Really?
Really?
I like you too. I have for a while now.
Really?
Really.
He took my hand and, I know, my cheeks turned pink.
I got something for you too.
Ooh, okay. I love presents. And then he put his hand on my cheek, leaned in close, and kissed me. It was the perfect end to a perfect day.
Snakey, I'm Melon. Melon!
Who are you talking to? Oh, hi, guys. I'm Grace, and this is Melon.
Snaky, stinky breath! Stinky breath!
Hey, that's offensive. Stink! Guys, I'll be right back. In the meantime, please like and subscribe. Hey, y'all, I'm back. And this charming boy here is Melon. When I was 5, my grandmother got Melon as a pet. He has been my closest companion ever since. But I was 11 when we lost Grandma forever, so Melon is now my pet. We live with my mom, who raised me all alone. She is an incredible fashion designer and works extremely hard.
Nifty tie, Snaky!
But she never has time to go out and enjoy a social life.
Social life, Snaky, no nifty ties!
Don't be selfish! Melon! Just then, I heard a sound outside my window. It was Leo, the school bully, and his cronies picking on Conte. Conte and his parents had moved in about a week ago across the street from me. He was in 5th grade as well. But Conte was smaller than the other boys in our class. He wore glasses and had a lot of acne, which made him the perfect target for bullies.
You're like a science experiment gone wrong with those pimples, buddy.
I'm just getting ready for Halloween. Need to begin early with the spooky costumes, you know?
Suddenly, Leo and his gang pushed Conte and dragged him away. We have to do something.
Let's go, Snaky!
Melon and I stealthily trailed the boys to an abandoned house 2 blocks away. We peeked inside and saw Leo and his boys harassing Conte. Leo needed to be taught a lesson. Melon, time to put on our spooky act. I opened the window slightly, and Melon crawled through. He slid under a sheet and started flying around like a ghost.
Boo! Boo! I'm the ghost of Snake Past!
The boys' faces drained of color. It's haunted! Run! As the boys ran out screaming, I climbed in through the window and helped Conte up.
Thanks for helping me. You guys are awesome.
Let's go before real ghosts come. From that day, Conte, Milan, and I were inseparable. Conte basically became a member of my small family. We played video games, had all-night movie marathons, and he even taught me how to play basketball. Heck, when we were 14, we even opened an animal shelter.
Interesting people! Interesting people!
Are you saying I'm boring?
He's just saying you're as interesting as watching paint dry.
Life was wonderful the summer before high school. Mom, Melon, and I even went to Paris for Mom's first international fashion tour. It was incredible. I assisted Mom in dressing her models and even offered her a few design tips. Because we were super busy, I didn't have time to check in with Conte, but I bought him a few souvenirs to make up for it. After all, he was my best friend, and he'd understand, right? But then something weird happened. When we came back from Paris, Conte suddenly disappeared. He stopped talking to me and even stopped replying to my messages. I was super worried. So on the first day of high school, I ran over to his house, worried crazy. When the door opened, I almost passed out. Conte looked amazing and cool. No glasses, no acne. He looked like a teen model. But before I could even ask him what was up, he frowned.
I think I'll walk to school by myself today.
Then he closed the door and walked away. I was beyond shocked. Was he kidding? He had to be, right? Wrong, because at school things got even weirder. Conte avoided me like the plague. Every time he saw me, he dodged and ran away. Finally, I cornered him in the hallway. What's with the dodgeball moves? Did I do something?
Look, I gotta go.
Distracted, I bumped into Leo and his gang.
Aw, is little loser sad because Conte no longer wants to be seen with her?
Better a loser than a clown? What trick are you going to do today? How to use your mouth to talk instead of your butt. Leo's face turned red. He leaned towards me menacingly. Luckily, a teacher passed by and he and his gang rushed away. That evening, I was very bummed out. After school, I saw Conte hanging out with some guys who spent more time in detention than they did in their classrooms. Did he think he was too cool to hang out with me? Melon, you won't believe it. Conte's acting so weird and I just don't understand why.
Snaky, secret agent, Snaky, undercover.
Melon gave me a great idea. What if I followed Conte around to find out what was going on and why he started hanging out with those guys? I wanted my best friend back. As I was trying to understand Conte's odd behavior, there was an unexpected knock on the door, and Mom waltzed in.
Hey kiddo, I've got some news. I've met someone and he's coming for dinner with his kid tonight. Is that okay?
Snaky, nifty ties, gone!
Melon. Shh! Of course, Mom, I'm so happy for you! With a chuckle, Mom hugged me.
Dress up a bit, okay? I want us to make a good impression.
To be honest, I was excited for Mom. That is until I opened the door for her guests and saw who they were.
Grace, what a pleasant surprise! I'm gonna make your life a nightmare.
I gulped. This was going to be a disaster. But to my shock, during dinner, Leo was super polite. I could hardly recognize him. He even poured juice for me. Was I wrong about him? Just then, Mom and Leo's dad went to the kitchen to grab the chocolate cake Mom had baked, and I sat with Leo awkwardly when suddenly I felt something crawl up my leg and onto my chest. I screeched louder than a pig in a mud bath and leaped from my chair as the rodent darted into the kitchen. Leo's dad emerged from the kitchen holding the toy mouse.
Grace, Claire, I'm so sorry about this.
Boys will be boys. No harm done.
And jerks will be jerks! As soon as Leo and his dad left, I rushed over to Conte's house to give him the bad news that my mom was dating Leo's dad. Hey, Conte, can we talk? But Conte didn't look happy to see me. Conte shook his head and looked away.
What? Grace?
OMG! What the heck is wrong with you? Why are you acting like such a jerk?
Then go away.
You know what? I will! I spun on my heels and walked away. Silent tears rolled down my cheeks. I missed my best friend, and I needed him now more than ever. As days turned into weeks, my school life became a minefield of misery, courtesy of Leo's relentless pranks at school and at home, and Conte's silent treatment. Melon was my only friend, but even he was worried about me.
Tell Mom! Tell Mom!
What? Was I supposed to tell her? That her boyfriend's son's heart was as dark as a moonless night? But just when I thought my life was over, something amazing happened. I got an opportunity to win a scholarship to college. I was thrilled. If I could get it, I wouldn't have to worry about my fees. All I had to do was write an essay about the career path I wanted to choose and why I deserved the scholarship. I was so excited. I spent the next month working tirelessly on my essay. And when I finally finished, I was super proud of myself. On the day of the deadline, I rushed to the principal's office clutching my laptop with my cherished essay, when out of nowhere, a torrent of dirty mop water careened toward me. It was like everything was happening in slow-mo. My laptop fell on the floor and broke in two. Before I could get it, someone standing close by jumped on it, smashed. OMG, stop! Stop! I didn't save it on the cloud. This can't be happening, my essay. But it did happen. I sat in a pool of dirty, stinky water with bits of laptop around me. My precious essay gone forever. And then I heard it. The most terrible sound on the planet. Leo laughing. Suddenly, my vision blurred with anger, and before I knew it, I was on top of him, clawing at his hair like a wild animal. It took the combined strength of 3 teachers to wrestle me away. You ruined my chances of getting that scholarship, Leo. I hate you. I ran out with tears in my eyes. At home, I locked myself in my room and cried. That night, I got a call from Conte, but I refused to answer. Shortly after, he sent me a text saying that he saw what happened at school, and he was really sorry. He called repeatedly, and eventually I switched off my phone and cried myself to sleep. Over the next few days, I couldn't eat, and I spent most of my time in and out of sleep.
Darling, if something is troubling you, you can always talk to me, okay? I'm here for you.
Snaky, tell her!
With a deep breath, I opened up to Mom and told her everything about Leo's relentless bullying, the scholarship and the essay, and how Conte had distanced himself from me. I was devastated and miserable.
Oh, honey, why didn't you tell me earlier?
You were so happy with Leo's dad, and I didn't want to ruin it for you.
You will always be my #1 priority. And as for Conte, let's work on finding out what's wrong there too.
Later that evening, I decided to walk to the park to clear my head. I was sitting behind a tree when I heard familiar voices, and what I heard next made my blood run cold.
I refuse to be involved in this any longer.
Oh, don't you? What about the $50,000 that I gave you for your mother's hospital treatment?
I gasped, $50,000!
Remember our deal. I provide the money, and in return, you become my slave. You do as I tell you. And I'm telling you to stay the heck away from Grace. I hate her. Or your mom suffers.
Leo's words hit me like a sledgehammer. Conte was being blackmailed. He was trying to save his mother while also protecting me and Mom. That night, I decided to take things into my own hands and decided to visit Conte. Since I knew he wouldn't let me in through the front door, I decided to climb in through the window. But it was way tougher than they make it look in movies. As soon as I leaped onto the roof, a tile dislodged and slid down the roof, and I was clutching the gutter for dear life. My life flashed before my eyes. I heard the window open, followed by Conte's voice.
Grace, what are you doing?
Shut up and help!
I'm here to rescue you. Hang on, I'm on my way.
Within a few seconds, he took my hand and dragged me up, and Conte safely brought me back to the floor. I wrapped my arms around Conte, overflowing with gratitude, but he gently pushed me away.
You shouldn't be here.
Because Leo would hurt Mom and us, right? Conte's eyes widened in surprise. I overheard you guys at the park. Come on, let's go to your room before Leo catches us. Finally, Conte told me about his mother's illness and his father losing his job while we were away. I felt so guilty. I'm so sorry, Conta. I should have been there for you.
No, it's fine. But I don't have any money for Leo, and if I ever cross him, all the things I did for him will come back to haunt me.
A mischievous grin crept across my face as I rubbed my hands together. Leave it to Melon and me. The next evening, I told Mom to invite Leo and his dad over for dinner because we had settled things between us. When they arrived, I was still connecting the camera that I had secured in Melon's tie to my laptop when I finally emerged. I spied Leo's father slipping into my mother's office. I tiptoed to the office and peeked inside with Melon perched on my head, and what I heard sent shivers down my spine.
Yes, I'm bringing her designs tonight and my gambling debt will be squared off, right?
I was shocked. Mom had spent months making designs to pitch to Prada. This was a huge deal for her. Her entire career depended on it. Melon and I scurried back to my room. It wasn't the footage I hoped to get. It was 10 times better. I quickly sent a copy to Conte before heading to the dining room to greet our guests. Leo and I pretended to like each other and had a polite conversation. After the meal, I turned to everyone. I've decided to apply to a few colleges, and they wanted me to do a short video of myself. I'd love to get your opinions. As the tape played in the living room, Leo's father looked like he'd seen a ghost. Mom, on the other hand, was furious.
How dare you! Come into my house and try to steal my designs! I worked so hard! Get out!
But I wasn't going to let Leo and his father leave just like that. Not so fast. I won't share this on social media if Leo leaves Conte alone. I know about the 50,000 and all the things you've made Conte do.
You? What? Blackmailing our Conte pal? You have 3 days to pack your bags and move out of town or I'm calling the cops.
Leo and his father practically ran out crying.
Snaky, trash gone! Trash gone!
While I was happy that I got justice for Conte, I felt super bad that Leo's dad had broken Mom's heart. I'm so sorry, Mom. I know you liked him a lot.
Don't worry, kiddo, you just saved my business.
I rushed over to Conte to tell him the great news.
Thank you, Grace, for having my back even though I was a jerk to you.
That's okay. Relationships aren't always sunshine. They need a little rain to grow. Slowly, Conte's mother recovered, and my mom hired Conte's father as her personal assistant. After Conte and I finally graduated high school, we got into the same college, excited about whatever life had in store for us, confident that our enduring friendship would weather any storm that came our way. Hi, my name is Serafina. Before we jump into today's story, please like and subscribe to Luna Avatar. My first memory of Mom is her voice singing lullabies to me every night. It was the most beautiful sound in the world. Mainly because the moment she stopped, I'd start screaming again. By the time I was 16 months old, I could hum every lullaby perfectly. My dad, a piano genius, taught me beautiful notes and how to put them together, and I was totally obsessed with it. On Dad's 30th birthday, there was a grand celebration at our mansion. Right after everyone started toasting, I climbed up on a table and began singing the birthday song. Suddenly, the whole room went silent, ready to take in my first performance.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
When I finished, I realized my voice could make a grown man cry.
Oh my god, that's exactly the voice of an angel.
I always had a feeling Serafina was gifted. I'm so proud of you, darling.
Right after that, my parents hired the best musicians in the city to coach me in vocals and music theory. At every party my parents and their friends hosted, they'd invite me to perform, and they even paid me for it. My life was perfect. Until one day, everything changed. When I was in the 2nd grade, my dad had just returned from meeting with some partners overseas. I froze when I saw a little girl with sad eyes, holding a stuffed bunny, step out of the car too. She was trying to hide behind Dad, but he gently pushed her forward.
This is Annabelle, Serafina. She's your sister, and she'll be living with our family now. Will you take care of her?
I looked into her scared, dark eyes and immediately took her hand. Always! But from the moment Annabelle showed up, a dark shadow, like the dress she wore, was cast over our happy home. It started with a huge fight between my parents that evening, and both of us overheard it.
You've broken my heart. She reminds me of my worst nightmare, and I have to see it every day. She can't stay here. I won't raise a child that isn't mine.
She has nowhere to go. Her mother's gone, I know you hate me right now, but please don't take it out on her. She's just a kid.
I didn't want Annabelle to hear this, so I said, "Come on, I'll play something for you. What's your favorite song?" I didn't fully understand what was happening, but one thing was clear. Mom hated Annabelle. She ignored her like there wasn't any child in the house besides me. But my dad and I were different. We adored her. Maybe it was because I could see the sadness and loneliness in my sister's eyes. And we more than made up for Mom's ice-cold attitude. But in the 8th grade, we got news one day that made our whole world come crashing down. Dad had been in a terrible car accident, and he was gone. We were all devastated, but Mom just shut herself up in her room for weeks. One night, while I was reading a Snow White story to Annabelle, Mom suddenly burst into the room and started yelling.
What are you doing in my daughter's room? You're just a poor maid.
Mom, are you okay? She's not a maid, this is Annabelle, remember?
Yes, Annabelle. How could I forget her? Everything got worse when she showed up. No, everything is exactly her fault.
I stared in horror at Mom as Annabelle started to cry.
Pack your things first thing in the morning, Annabelle. Are you planning to sleep with this filthy maid tonight?
What? No, she's not going anywhere. Dad said she's my sister.
Either she goes to the maids or the orphanage. This is her last night here.
As Mom was leaving, she suddenly pounced at Isabel, grabbed her stuffed bunny, and threw it in the fire.
No, my mom made that.
Annabelle cried for hours and I hugged her to sleep. What had happened to my mom? The very next day, Annabelle had to move to the maids' quarters despite my strong protests. She was still allowed to go to school, but she had to do house chores in her free time. I was scared she'd be sent away, so I stopped fighting with Mom, but I'd sneak food to her and help her with her homework at night. At school, we could always hang out together. But one day, I started trembling when I saw my mom show up at school, heading straight to the principal's office. Oh my God! Maybe my worst fear was about to come true. Mom, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm here to withdraw Annabelle from school, of course.
You can't do that! She has to go to school!
Why? She's never going to be anything but a maid like her stupid mother. Education is a complete waste on someone whose future is just sweeping floors and cleaning rooms.
As she turned around, I grabbed Mom's wrist. If you make her drop out of school, I will too, and I'll tell everyone why. Are you sure you want everyone to know how you really treat Annabelle? Mom, Dad would be so disappointed in you. Mom looked shocked, then angrily pulled her arm away and left I'd won this little battle. But God knows what she'd do next. Things weren't great at home, but at least I had Eric. He was my boyfriend for 2 years and was just crazy about my voice one evening when I was on a date with him. I suddenly started getting calls from Annabelle.
Come home right now, Serafina!
I ran home to a scene of complete chaos. Mom was tearing apart Annabelle's room. What's going on?
Your dad's watch is missing, and I'm going to search all the maids' rooms, and when I find it, I'm kicking out the thief for good.
Just then, a servant came from another room saying it was under Mom's personal maid's bed. Mom looked completely shocked to find out it was her, but she threw her bags out instantly. Some days later, it was Annabelle's 13th birthday, and I snuck into her room with a cake when she blew the candles out. I asked her what she'd wished for.
I wished your mom was dead.
Annabelle, you don't mean that? She's my mom. Annabelle stayed silent, and I got up to leave. I'd never seen that look of hatred on my little sister's face before. In the middle of all this drama, I had a huge audition coming up. A prestigious music academy was looking for talent from different schools, and being selected would be a dream. But 5 days before the audition, I woke up with my throat hurting. I called out to the maid, but to my horror, my voice was gone. Mom rushed me to the doctor who diagnosed me with laryngitis. What he said next left me shocked.
Your voice will return to normal soon, but this is the end of your singing. If you strain your vocal cords too much, you could lose your voice permanently.
I just couldn't believe it. On the day of the auditions, I slipped into the auditorium with Eric, feeling devastated. I wanted to be up on that stage more than anything. And then one of the judges said,
"The last performer is Miss Annabelle."
Wait, what? Annabelle stepped onto the stage and started singing.
Don't know what you wanna achieve, but make a
I was stunned. Her voice was beautiful. The judges gave her a standing ovation and said they'd be in touch with her. Soon as everyone started to leave, I caught up with her. Annabelle, that was amazing. But why didn't you tell me you could ever sing like that? She brushed my arm off angrily, her eyes blazing.
You never asked. You just assumed that you're the only one with any talent. But I guess that's something we both got from our father. It makes you unhappy, doesn't it?
Why would you say that? I've always had your back, Annabelle.
Yet I've been living as a maid in my dad's house for years, and you did nothing! You think sneaking me food makes up for how I'm treated? No, it doesn't! All it does is make you feel good about yourself.
Annabelle, I tried.
Oh, nice try. I hate you, Serafina!
As she stormed off, I felt heartbroken. As Eric walked me back home that evening, suddenly, a skateboarder came charging straight at him. I pushed Eric out of the way just in time, but he landed on the pavement, hitting his head. I quickly called an ambulance, and after hours of waiting at the hospital, we were shocked to get the news Eric was in a coma. The doctors were hopeful he'd wake up soon. But weeks turned into months, and before I knew it, a year had passed. I was almost done with high school, and Annabelle was in her music academy on full scholarship, but we never spoke anymore. One day when I went to see Eric, I was shocked to see him sitting up in bed. Oh my God, you're awake! He gently pushed me away.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Eric, it's me, Serafina, your girlfriend!
Can you sing?
Yes, well I used to, but then I got sick and had to stop, remember?
No! I just know that my girlfriend sings beautifully. I couldn't move or see all these months, but she'd talk and sing to me often, and I could hear her. I know her voice, and it's not you.
Suddenly my blood ran cold when I heard someone behind me.
Babe, that was me. You could hear me?
Annabelle?
Yes, it's you!
She ran forward and hugged him, and then they kissed. Suddenly, I just lost it. I pulled Annabelle by her hair. Are you completely crazy? You've been visiting my boyfriend and singing to him. Tell him you're lying.
I am not. He's mine. Let me go, witch.
And suddenly she pushed me viciously and I went flying into a trolley. I attacked her and we went crashing straight into the machines. And the next thing we knew, we were both thrown out of the hospital. I turned furiously to Annabelle. We're done for good. You become a hateful monster. I don't even know who you are anymore. But you're definitely not my sister.
Finally!
And with that, she left. I went on a very long walk to clear my head. And by the time I got home, Annabelle was gone. The next morning, Mom discovered a lot of things were gone too, including Dad's watch.
Heck! I'm going to report her to the police. I'm going to.
Mom, just stop it. She's gone. That's what you wanted since you first saw her, right? And so what if she took Dad's stuff? It's hers too. Let it freaking go. A year later, I went off to university to study music. If I couldn't sing anymore, I could still play in my final year. I was leaving the campus one day when I stepped on a newspaper. It had Eric and Annabelle's face on the front page with the headline "Billionaire to tie knot in 2 weeks." Well, good for them. But just a few days later, I walked into a coffee shop. And to my shock, I saw Eric there. And he was kissing a blonde girl. That definitely wasn't Annabelle. I just walked away. It wasn't my problem. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. And when her wedding day arrived, I just could not do anything. Even if she hated me. She was my freaking little sister. And that's how I found myself bursting into the church and running like crazy down the aisle. Hold it! This wedding can't happen! As Annabelle turned to look at me in horror, I ran straight at her and hugged her. I held onto her tight as she squirmed and shrieked.
Oh my God, you psycho! Get off me!
I love you, Annabelle! I'm not going anywhere till you listen to me! As Eric looked super mad and everyone stared at us, she dragged me off to a small room.
What do you think you're doing, Serafina?
Annabelle, you can't marry Eric. He's a cheater. I saw him kissing a girl the other day. I swear I'm not lying.
Think I don't know about that? Well, I do, and it doesn't matter. I stole your man, and hell take care of me. At least I got rid of you and your psycho mom, so just buzz off.
Annabelle, listen to me. You're just angry right now. I'm so sorry about everything. Mom was unbelievably cruel to you, and I should have fought harder. You deserved so much better, and you still do. Don't marry this jerk, please.
Why do you care?
Because you're my little sister, and I miss you so much. I had 2 things that I loved the most. My voice and you. I lost my voice for good, and I don't want to lose you too. Please forgive me and come with me.
Oh, Serafina, I'm so sorry for all the horrible things I did to you. I thought I wanted to marry Eric too, tease you, but I now realize that everything I've been doing in my life was to not end up alone. I just wanted to belong to someone.
You belong to me. You're my family. I made a promise to Dad to take care of you, and I will always. And with that, we hugged each other and walked back to our home. Family always comes first.
Hi, I'm Tina from Poland. Please like and subscribe. I was born into a super rich home. My dad owned the largest store in the country. And my 2 brothers were billionaires as well. My long brown hair and my blue eyes caught the attention of everyone whenever I went out with my dad.
Wow, your daughter is so beautiful.
People would shower me with all sorts of gifts. I loved it a lot. I mean, who wouldn't? I would always want to go out with Dad. But he wouldn't let me, and he had his reasons. I was the only girl in the family. My mom left when I was a baby. When she left, Dad said I became really sick. I was taken to the best hospital in the country. They did all they could, but I didn't get any better. I spent a year in the hospital, and eventually I got better.
I'm so glad you're fine now, sweetheart.
Since then, my dad and brothers walked on eggshells around me, and they spoiled me silly. They bought me the most expensive gifts. My dad even got me the most expensive necklace in the world. I love them, but sometimes they do too much. The only person who treated me like a normal kid was Jerry, our next-door neighbor. Jerry and I were inseparable growing up, and we had the best time together. When people made fun of my long brown hair, Jerry always defended me. We would play silly pranks on my brothers and laugh as the pranks played out. That all changed when Jerry's parents decided to move to another country. Jerry's mom got a sweet fashion deal in Paris, and they had to move. I was devastated. I wanted to sneak Jerry into my room so that we could start living together. But my brothers found out, Jerry left, and I was all alone. It took me a while to make friends in high school, even though I was the prettiest girl in school. I had gotten so used to Jerry that I couldn't just flow with any other person. One day I was on YouTube watching Luna videos. When I stumbled upon a channel, it was Jerry's. He'd gotten so big and handsome. He was a popular chef in Paris with over 10 million subscribers. I stayed up all night watching his videos. I wanted to drop a comment, but I didn't know what to type. I was scared that he wouldn't remember me anymore. Meanwhile, I'd gotten into a nationwide beauty pageant, and I was one of the favorites to win. That was all my dad talked about.
You need to win the pageant, sweetie. Whatever it takes.
I would always feel the pressure choking me when I went to school. Diane, the only person I was able to bond with at school, noticed and tried to take the pressure off.
Let's go to your favorite restaurant. I'm sure you'll feel better after.
We went to the restaurant and she got me my favorite meal. I smiled as the waiter placed the food on the table. And just as I munched on the delicious meal, the cutest guy walked in. Every lady in the restaurant stared and was in awe as he sat by the window. He looked at me and with a gorgeous smile he winked. My face turned red and my heart raced as he winked. I quickly looked away and focused on my meal. Just as we were about to leave the restaurant, I slipped and I was sure that I would fall. But the cute guy caught me.
You should watch where you're going. I should be the one falling, not you.
Why would you fall?
I would fall for you, of course.
I giggled in excitement as my face turned red. I looked at Diane, who was already dancing in the corner.
I'm Brian. How have I not seen such a beautiful creature like you around here before?
You didn't look closely enough. I'll see you around.
I grabbed Diane and we rushed out of the restaurant. Since then, I met Brian every time I went to the restaurant. He would come over to me and we would start talking. Turns out he was pretty funny and smart. I became so fond of him and we spent even more time together. Date one night, and when we returned, he walked me to the front door and planted a kiss on my lips. I was so excited because I had wished that Brian would be my first kiss. I began to really like him. And it turns out I wasn't the only one. My brothers and even my dad loved him.
He is the son of the wealthiest man in the country. We need the connection, honey.
He helped me with my preparation for the beauty pageant. And with time, we became a power couple in school. Apparently, Joy, the biggest bully in school, was also a contestant in the beauty pageant and was obsessing over Brian.
I wonder what he sees in you.
Things he doesn't see in you, apparently.
She did everything in her power to stop me from dating him, but she failed miserably. Her face would turn red when she saw us together after her failed attempts. It was so hilarious. I got to school one day and I got the biggest shock of my life. Jerry, my runaway neighbor, was sitting right next to my seat in class.
Jerry, what are you doing here?
I ran to meet him and he met me halfway. He lifted me up and hugged me tight. Wow, he even looked way cuter than in the videos. Brian saw us and he quickly moved to hold my hand.
Who is he?
Oh, this is Jerry. We were close friends when we were much younger, but he's a huge star now.
Huge star? How come I've never heard of him?
Don't mind Tina here, I'm just a chef.
What are you doing here, though?
Oh, I moved back here. My mom wants to spend more time here, and I miss this place as well.
I was so excited that I hugged him again. Brian pulled me back and placed his arm on my shoulder.
It's good to see you, Jerry.
I waved at Jerry as I walked out of the class with Brian. The wonderful memories I shared with him growing up rushed back to me as he smiled at me. He came to my place after school and we spoke for a long time. He told me all about Paris, how he learned to cook, and how he became a teenage sensation overnight.
My mom helped me with everything, and that's why I love her so much.
I'm really happy for you, Jerry, and I'm glad you're back.
Just as Jerry was about to leave, Brian walked in.
Oh, Jerry's here.
I was on my way already. Let me leave you two alone. Good night.
Jerry sounded so cool and mature, and he was dressed well too. Brian and I spent time together, but all I could think about was Jerry. I started spending more and more time with Jerry, and I began to realize just how funny and smart he was. Whenever his brown eyes stared at me, my heart would melt, and I could feel the butterflies in my stomach dancing. I was falling for him, and honestly, I loved it. Brian, on the other hand, had been buying me nice gifts since Jerry came back. He even got me a very expensive car, which I really loved. One time I was walking with Diane, and all of a sudden I tripped, and as I was about to fall, Jerry, out of nowhere, caught me. He held me in his arms for a while, and I just stared into his gorgeous eyes. He reached out to kiss me, but Brian walked up to us that moment.
What's going on here?
I pushed Jerry aside and ran away. I was so confused I didn't know what to do. The day of the beauty pageant grew closer and I began to panic.
Don't be a baby. We've practiced, and I've helped you a lot. I'm sure you'll be fine.
He sounded so much like a jerk, but he was right. We had practiced so much and I could feel the confidence building inside of me that all crumbled when Joy the witch accused me of stealing.
She would never do that.
Yes, she did, and I have the proof. She stole my expensive necklace and hid it in her locker. I saw her when she did it.
You're such a liar. Why would I steal your cheap necklace?
Why don't we find out if I'm a liar or not? Then, open your locker.
To my biggest surprise, the necklace was placed on one of the books in my locker.
How did it get there?
My jaw dropped as the principal picked up the necklace. Everyone looked at me weird, including Brian. My dad and brothers were certain that when I was called into the principal's office that I couldn't steal. They had bought even more expensive necklaces for me. So why would I steal one?
You are hereby disqualified from the beauty pageant, and you must serve detention for a week.
I ran out of the principal's office crying. I couldn't believe it. Everyone would think I'm a thief and they wouldn't believe me anymore. Jerry walked out of the shadows and he came over to me.
Hey, I heard what happened. Are you okay?
Leave me alone. Jerry, I know you think I'm a thief as well.
I could never think of you like that, and I know very well you are not a thief.
I'm glad you believe me because no one else in the school does, including Brian.
I don't know what to do. I started crying, and that was when Jerry moved closer to me and hugged me tightly.
Just ignore them. We'll figure something out. Trust me.
My first day in detention sucked. People looked at me differently, including the teachers. Jerry then came and made everything easier. We spent time together in detention and we got even closer. He stayed with me all the way through, and he also walked me home just to make sure I was safe. The beauty pageant was days away, and the entire country was buzzing because of it. Joy was the clear candidate to win, but there were talks about McKeely winning as well. She was my favorite. She was so pretty and kind. She had the cutest blue eyes I have ever seen. Jerry made sure I continued with my practice, even though I didn't want to.
You can still be called back in for the pageant, so you need to be ready.
On my way back from detention one day, I felt really sick. My knees became weak and I was dizzy. I fell to the ground and was rushed to the hospital. When my dad got to the hospital, he demanded that I'd be transferred to the same hospital I was admitted to when I was much younger. I was in a coma for 2 weeks. Everyone was worried sick. Brian, who had disappeared since Joy accused me of stealing, came back and stayed by my side. Jerry was there too, and they both argued from time to time about who deserved me more.
How could you abandon her when she needed you the most? You don't deserve her.
And who are you to decide that? She's my girlfriend, and there is nothing you can do about that.
The doctors ran some tests, and they found out I had a rare kidney disease and I needed a kidney transplant. Dad couldn't be the donor because he had the same disease. My brothers were on a very important business trip, and they weren't even told that I was in the hospital. Diane gave excuses and Brian ran away again. Time was running out and I needed a donor quickly.
I'll be the donor.
Jerry stepped up and he donated one of his kidneys. The surgery was successful, and weeks later I was discharged from the hospital. I got back home and continued the preparation for the beauty pageant with Jerry. Some days before the pageant, the school found out that Joy planted the necklace in my locker just to get me kicked out of the pageant. She confessed after she was caught trying to pull the same trick on Michaela. She was suspended, and I was called back in for the pageant, just like Jerry had predicted. I became so nervous when I got the news. Sweat poured out of me, and I felt a tightness in my chest. Jerry noticed and held my hand gently.
You'll be fine, Tina. This is what you trained for, and I am so proud of you.
He smiled at me, and I hugged him tightly.
What would I do without you?
The day came, and I was well prepared for it. I wore my finest gown. Dad had just gotten it for me, and it looked absolutely gorgeous. My brothers hired the best stylist in the country, and she did a wonderful job. They all sat in the front row, and they applauded when I stepped on stage. I nailed the many questions I was asked and felt my confidence building as the show went on. After what seems like an eternity, it was time to decide the winner. We all held hands and hoped for the best. Michaela got second place with a standing ovation, and my name was announced as the winner of the pageant. I was so happy, tears rolled down my cheeks. But out of nowhere, Brian came on stage and held my hand. I yanked his hand off and walked down to where Jerry stood. Brian ran to meet me, and he grabbed me violently. Jerry intervened and punched him right in the face.
Leave her alone! You don't deserve her!
Brian ran off crying like a baby while Jerry held my hand gently and smiled at me. My heart melted and my face turned red.
You look really beautiful.
Just kiss me already.
He leaned in and gave me the warmest kiss ever. I held on to him as everyone cheered us on. It was the best night ever.
Hi, I'm Irina from Russia. Please like and subscribe. My mom gave birth to 2 identical twins, me and my sister Rita. Unfortunately, we were only a month old when my parents divorced. Mom took Rita to the city while I stayed in the village with Dad. Dad was my only friend because growing up I was super shy and preferred to read and write stories in my journal than play with other kids.
Are you sure you want to spend another Friday night alone, sweetie?
Don't worry, Dad, I'm fine. Aren't you happy I'm not going to any wild parties or dating any boys? Then one day when I was 16, I got a strange visitor.
Hi, Irina. Oh, you're all grown up now and so beautiful.
Thanks. Do I know you?
Wow. I guess your dad never mentioned me much or kept any pictures. I'm your mom.
Huh? You're joking, right? But she wasn't. Instead, Dad came over and the 2 of them sat down with me in the living room.
All right. I let you come over because you said you had an emergency. So what's going on?
It's Irina's sister, Rita. She's a model and makes a lot of money, but she started struggling with mental illness and suddenly quit. Now, if she doesn't complete her contract, we'll be sued for a crazy amount of money. Irina has to fill in for her. No one will know. I may have to trim her bangs a bit, though.
Wait, what? This is the emergency?
What a stupid and twisted thing to ask your daughter that you haven't seen in 16 years. Get out of my house right now.
They started arguing and I didn't know what to do, so I just slipped out of the room and tried to calm myself down. But Mom just wouldn't give up. And the next day she made me a crazy offer.
Your father mentioned you write stories and that it's your dream to become a famous author. What if I told you I knew an agency that could publish your work and pay you a fortune?
How could I say no to something like that? After that, I convinced Dad to do the modeling contract, and finally he agreed. So I moved to the city where Mom and Rita lived in a mansion. Mom greeted me at the door and hugged me tightly. I still wasn't entirely comfortable with her, but it was nice to feel welcome.
You'll meet Rita later today. She doesn't leave her bedroom. She even has dinner there.
You mean I'll only see her if I come upstairs with you? Doesn't she ever leave the house? Mom didn't answer. She just snapped her fingers and ordered some servants to get me settled in my room. God, this place was so different from what I was used to. And I was curious to meet my mysterious sister, too. That evening, I was reading in my room when I heard a scream outside my room. I went into the hallway to find the maid covered in food. That's when I also saw Mom and Rita.
I told her I wanted pizza for dinner, not these soggy vegetables.
Of course, baby. Our mistake. But pizza's not good for you right now. We'll get you the tastiest salad ever. I'll give you a raise, all right? I can't have another servant quit because of her.
You always do this. Mom, I don't want a salad. If I don't get a pizza right now, I'll take all of your gold jewelry and give it to the neighbor's dog to chew on and then throw up.
Excuse me, but don't speak to your mom like that. And you certainly didn't need to throw food at your maid.
This is my twin sister, Mom. She has a lot of nerve for a house guest. Also, we may look identical, but her skin is way more blotchy than mine. You should tell the photographer that beforehand.
Geez, this girl was something else. I went off to bed after that, and Mom told me not to take Rita's behavior personally.
I just want her to be happy and healthy.
The next day, I arrived on set, when suddenly I noticed everyone glaring at me and whispering angrily. What was going on? Hey, why is everyone here giving me dirty looks? Did I do something wrong?
Ugh, you're here? I thought you quit after you humiliated me in front of thousands of people. Also, you bullied every single person on set since you started working here, Rita. They were hoping they'd never see you again after you left.
What? I bullied everybody here? And what did I do to you? I mean, I didn't take my meds this morning, so I forgot what happened. Can you remind me?
Ugh, give me a break!
Rita had apparently done a lot of horrible things because every person around me acted like I was some kind of monster. I called Mom and told her what had happened.
You must have spoken with Vlad, Rita's coworker and ex-boyfriend. She dumped him publicly during an acceptance speech for an awards show and said some mean things. Just focus on your work, honey. He's not your problem.
I knew Mom was right, so the next day, I ignored all the death stares and kept to myself. But later that afternoon, Vlad and I had to do a photo shoot together. The photographer was about to start when suddenly she started freaking out.
I cannot work like this. Vlad, how much weight did you gain? The costume designers worked really hard and you. Ugh, forget it. I'm requesting a different model.
What? Why? We've been rehearsing this for weeks and I haven't gained any weight.
He really does look great. Maybe his suit just has to be tailored a bit. The photographer wouldn't listen, and Vlad stormed off with tears in his eyes. Vlad, don't listen to that photographer. You're in great shape. I don't get why she had to be such a jerk.
Well, she wasn't totally wrong. I have put on a little weight. I'm surprised you didn't make fun of me about it.
Have I made fun of your body in the past?
You made fun of it in front of thousands of people. During your award speech, you said you were dumping me because I didn't have abs anymore.
Wow. Well, I'd like to apologize for that. The truth is, I think you're really brave for doing a job like this. I hate having my picture taken. I mean, even though I'm a model. The point is, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I really didn't expect an apology from you. We're still broken up, but thanks for that.
After our talk, Vlad was nicer to me, which made my job a lot easier. One day, I headed to the den to watch some TV when I saw Rita sitting on the couch. What are you doing here?
What do you mean? This is my house, isn't it?
Yeah, but I thought you never came out of your room.
I don't. But my room doesn't have a TV, and I like watching Luna videos on a big screen.
You watch Luna Avatar too? They're my favorite YouTube channel. Their stories are what inspired me to become a writer.
Yeah, I don't care. You can watch with me as long as you keep your mouth shut.
I decided to take the opportunity to spend time with Rita. She obviously had some issues, and I was curious to know more about her. As we were watching videos, Rita's phone suddenly rang, and she looked annoyed.
Why is Vlad calling me?
My heart started racing as Rita answered the phone. Apparently, Vlad had called to ask her out to coffee.
He said he's glad we're getting along better lately, and that I seem happier and healthier. Did you flirt with him or something?
What? No, we're just friendly coworkers.
Listen to me. At your job, you're not Irina. You're Rita. And Rita doesn't want you talking to Vlad at all. I still love him.
You love him, and yet you dumped and publicly body-shamed him? Look, I'm not interested in your ex-boyfriend, but I'm allowed to be his friend. He's not your property, and he deserves to be around someone who doesn't mistreat him. I left before Rita could answer, and the next morning at work, I told Vlad I was sorry if I was rude to him on the phone and that I was happy to hang out.
I really don't have time for your games, Rita.
I'm not playing games, dude. Just whatever you do, don't call or text me on that number again. I got a new number. I convinced Vlad to let me buy him coffee, and as we were walking to a cafe, I saw a lady come up to us with a little girl behind her.
I'm so sorry to bother you, but my daughter is a big fan, and I wanted to say hi. She's just a little shy.
You don't have to feel shy. I'm just a normal girl at the end of the day, like you.
Did your mom buy you this pretty scarf?
Actually, I got it as a present from my agency. Do you want it? I think you'd look even better in it than I do.
No, we can't possibly accept that from you.
Rita, that scarf cost thousands of...
It's okay. Really, I want her to have it. The girl was starry-eyed, and her mom thanked me over and over.
Wow, I can't believe you just did that. You've changed a lot during your vacation, haven't you? Are you in therapy now or something?
I guess you could say that. Vlad insisted on buying me coffee instead of the other way around. And I even got some free pastries since the cashier was also a fan of Rita. I was living like royalty, pretending to be her. And my life as a model just kept getting better. I was getting huge business deals because everyone was amazed at how Rita had apparently made a comeback. But my success drove my sister totally wild.
You're just living your perfect life, aren't you? Oh no, wait! You're living my life!
The only reason I'm even here is because you sabotaged your career with your awful behavior. Rita just threw a pillow at my head and walked off. What a brat. As more time passed, I also started hanging out with Vlad, and we became really close. But I was always hesitant to tell him about my real identity. One night, he walked me home, and when we arrived in front of the house, he took my hand, and I felt my knees go weak.
I had such a lovely day with you. You seem a lot happier and healthier lately. Or maybe I'm just seeing a different side of you.
Suddenly, he leaned in to kiss me, and I found myself pulling away. Vlad, I'm sorry, but I can't kiss you.
What do you mean? I want to give us a second chance. 'Cause you're the new you.
I know. But things with me are more complicated than they look. I have to go, I'm sorry. I quickly snuck inside the house, but when I closed the door, I saw Rita leaning against the wall, and she looked enraged.
I saw you two from my bedroom window. Irina, I told you to stay away from Vlad. I know we haven't grown up together, but you're still my sister, and sisters don't steal each other's boyfriends.
I'm not stealing anything from you. He tried to kiss me, and I refused. But if you still love him, you should reach out and apologize.
Do you think I haven't done that? He won't take me back, Irina. I know it doesn't look like it, but I am trying to work on myself and become a better person. Hurting Vlad was the biggest regret of my life.
I didn't know how to respond to that. And as I lay in bed, I felt torn about what to do. I did have feelings for Vlad, and Rita had been horrible to him, but I still didn't want to hurt her. So the next day at work, I told Vlad I only wanted to be friends.
But why? Is there something you're not telling me?
It's just that. Suddenly, I saw something that made me forget what I wanted to say. The director was putting an envelope next to my purse, and it had my name on it. I left Vlad right away to see what it was. Excuse me, what's in this bag?
The menu for your new diet.
What do you mean I have to drop some weight?
That's ridiculous. We've given you this diet many times, and you are fine. So, can you do your job and follow this diet, or are you going to go crazy and have a mental breakdown again?
I felt like the ground beneath me had collapsed. This was how the agency had treated Rita when she was here. No wonder she'd been struggling. I had to see her right away. I went home and knocked on Rita's door, but there was no answer. Then suddenly, I smelled something weird coming from underneath the floor. So I opened the door and my heart dropped. Rita's entire bedroom was covered with dirty plates, and there was food under her bed that she'd snuck in from the kitchen. At that second, Rita's bathroom door opened.
Oh my God, get out! This is a total invasion of privacy.
Rita, what is all this? The director gave me the diet menu today, and she said she's always given it to you whenever you put on weight. But now I think you have an eating disorder.
My eating disorder led to my breakdown. I thought it was a harmless diet, but they kept telling me that I was still too heavy. So I started starving myself. But I'd get hungry and stuff my face, and the pressure to look perfect got to me. And then I projected my own insecurities onto Vlad. Irina, I was never jealous of you. I just didn't want you to suffer like I did.
Oh my God, I had no idea. I am so sorry.
But it doesn't excuse my behavior. It's turned me into a monster.
I hugged Rita tight and let her cry for a while. And after that, we went straight to the agency to take care of business. But when we arrived, Mom was there, and when she saw Rita, she freaked.
What is she doing here? Irina, I came here to help you sign a contract for a new business deal. We could get into huge trouble if someone sees you two together.
Forget it, Mom. I'm not filling in for Rita anymore. I'm done. You care more about money than you do your daughter's health and well-being. This agency totally mistreated Rita and the other models. And if I stay any longer, I'll go down the same dark path she did.
Oh, Irina, don't be overly dramatic. Rita's breakdown had nothing to do with the agency.
Rita was about to answer when we heard footsteps behind us. And when we turned around, it was Vlad. I hadn't spoken to him since the other day. His eyes got huge as he stared at Rita and me.
Rita, you have a twin?
Actually, I'm not Rita. My name is Irina, and I've been secretly filling in for Rita since last month. She didn't want to continue modeling, but they were going to sue us, and she quit before her contract ended, and...
It was her you've been hanging out with this whole time.
I don't understand. So you both lied to me and the whole world about all this?
It wasn't our choice. Vlad walked away before I could finish, and I was devastated. I wanted to go after him, but I had to take care of other things first. I called Dad right away, and with his help, we filed a lawsuit against both the agency and Mom for mistreatment and fraud. Dad got custody of Rita and got her the therapy she needed, and I was still able to get my stories published. But our little switcheroo was all over the news, and Vlad was still ignoring our calls. Then one day, Vlad texted me to meet him at a cafe, but he said he didn't want to talk to Rita. That was weird. So talk to me. How come you asked me to come here but not Rita?
Because you're the one I want to be with. Irina, you're a better person than Rita is. I was hurt that you lied, but I know you had your reasons.
I'm not a better person than Rita. I just had it way easier than her. She still loves you and wants a second chance.
But she hurt me too deeply, and I don't think I can ever love her the same. You're the one I want to be with.
My heart raced as Vlad took my hands and I stared into his deep, dark eyes. Vlad, maybe someday we can be together, but right now I have to focus on myself. I've been living my sister's life for too long, and I've lost touch with who I am. Still, I've loved every moment I spent with you.
Me too. Good luck, Irina.
And with that, I left the cafe with a smile, ready to start a new chapter of my life.